Something we often forget to do is to take the time to recognize what is important to us and to practice gratitude for these things. It is so true that we sometimes only really recognize the value in something when it is taken away from us. If we're lucky, that which was lost might come back to us. But even if it doesn't, at least we learn to be a bit more mindful about all the things we take for granted. Welcome back to another video, everyone. I'm Tasha Mavei B, or Mavei the Artist. Today I want to talk about the importance of appreciating our passions, gifts, and talents, and what I learned about my self-worth when two of my dearest paintings were stolen from me as I was moving into a new flat. Let's dive in. I was inspired to talk about this after seeing a video of an artist who talks about art theft on YouTube. I think it's a very valuable video because she mentions how important it is to take action against people who decide to use other people's work without permission. Especially in this day and age where stealing online content is becoming easier and easier. I will link the video for you in the description. So, regarding the theft of my two physical artworks about queens and natural women, this is what happened. As mentioned before, the theft occurred while I was moving into a new flat. I left the pictures along with a bunch of other items unattended on the first floor. I didn't really care as much about most of my stuff because I felt like everything was replaceable anyway. But what wasn't replaceable for me, of course, were my art pieces. And even though my intuition told me that I should take the paintings inside next, I didn't do it. Interestingly enough, nothing else was taken away, only my art. I'm sure many of you have felt this before. This gut feeling that tells you when you should rather not do something or do something, and then the unbearable feeling of remorse after choosing logic instead of trusting your instincts. I remember it as if it were yesterday. The heartache I felt as I grieved over two artworks that I had only recently completed. Art pieces that I was particularly proud of because they were bigger than my usual paintings and had demanded a lot more work from me. But fortunately, this story is not a sad one. Now, calling the police was not useful, but my initiative and not wanting to let that person get away with their actions without a fight really paid off. I have digital pictures of all of my paintings. So I made several copies of my missing artwork and hung them up at the front door and inside the apartment complex, with the message that whoever had stolen the pictures should please return them to me, or if anyone knew anything, they should please notify me. Someone, I guess it was the thief, destroyed and threw the messages away several times, but I kept making copies. And after about 2 weeks, a neighbor rang my doorbell with both artworks in her hands. She told me she had observed that two people had thrown the pictures on the basement floor. I was so relieved. The gratitude in my heart right now is just as big as it was back then. I felt so lucky. But this experience forced me to take a hard look at myself in order to figure out what my creative work actually means to me. For most of my life, I've downplayed the importance of my creative interests. You could say that the imposter syndrome was a big topic for me, and honestly, to some extent, it still is. And I just never want to come across as an arrogant person. That's why it was always hard for me to accept compliments. For far too long, I've tried to cover up my low self-esteem by telling myself that I'm just being humble, until I realized what I was actually doing. I took away my self-worth by acting as if my creative passions weren't a big deal. I only really understood what big of a deal they were when I thought I had lost my paintings forever. We put price tags on everything, but nothing can measure the emotional value of our passions. You know when people say, if you don't use it, you lose it, or what you push aside will eventually fade away? I think when we talk about personal interests and things that we love doing, the desire to pursue these things never really fades. We are just very good at finding distractions. But pushing away parts of ourselves that are essential for our well-being is a sure road toward depression. There were many periods in my life when I didn't paint anything at all. And during these times, I was always the most unsatisfied. I think it is easy to take our favorite activities and talents for granted because we are naturally drawn to them. However, it does take discipline and work to get better at what we're doing. And the process isn't just fun. In fact, it can be really hard. But because we love doing it, we feel rewarded anyway. So, I'm learning to measure the worth of my paintings not solely by the outcome, but by the joy, the excitement, and the positive stress I feel while I create them. It took me a while, but right now I'm at a place where I don't see drawing and painting as a hobby that just happened to show up for me. The deeper I look within myself, the more I realize that it is truly a gift given to me. Someone once told me that I'm actually really lucky for knowing about the things that lift my spirit. Because it is possible to get so detached from yourself that you start forgetting about what naturally feels good to pursue. So, if you're someone who knows, consider yourself lucky and be grateful that you're still somewhat in tune with your inner compass that wants you to experience joy. And if you don't know, then I hope you find the inspiration to go within so you can rediscover what your heart could never really forget.